Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to give you a couple minutes to settle in before we start the evening. Welcome to the launch of Within These Lines, poems by the Obsessors. All right. All right, we've got a few people trickling in here, but I think I'll start with some introductions tonight. Again, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Rachel Fowley-Neufeld, and I coordinate events for McNally Robinson in Saskatoon. I'm so pleased you're all joining us for the virtual launch of Within These Lines by the writing group, the Obsessors. So from this end, we're streaming live from Treaty 6 territory, the traditional territory of the Plains Cree, the Saulteaux, Dene, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota. This is also the homeland of the Métis Nation, and although not signatories of Treaty 6, the Métis are one of Saskatchewan's founding people. So we have two featured guests and accomplished poets starting the program tonight, Jennifer Still and Barbara Klar. Following Jennifer and Barbara, each of the group members will read selected poems tonight. So we expect the program to last about 35 minutes. We won't have a formal Q&A tonight, but please don't hesitate to use the chat function to leave messages for the readers throughout the evening. All right, so who are the Obsessors? The Obsessors writing group comprises 7 Saskatoon poets that meet to share their obsession for writing. Since their beginning in 2008, many of their members have been published in literary journals, chapbooks, and online sites. 3 have published their first books of poetry, and the anthology Within These Lines commemorates their creative years together. So with that said, it's safe to say that Jennifer Still and Barbara Klar provided the inspiration that formed this group of writers. Jennifer Still taught the first workshop entitled The Obsession Sessions. This workshop was followed by a second one called Obsession Session Part 2, the Revision Sessions, and it was led by Barbara Klar. So I think at this point, before we hear from the group, I'm going to introduce Jennifer Still. Jennifer is the winner of the 2021 Malahat Long Prize poem and the Lansdowne Prize for Poetry. So let's all welcome Jennifer Still.
Hello, greetings from Treaty 1 territory, and congratulations, Obsessors. It's a beautiful anthology you've created. Thanks for inviting me to say a couple words. I've known most from this group for about 13 years now, and we all got together this last spring to do a reprise of the writing workshop, the Obsession Sessions writing workshop, and it was familiar and also absolutely inspiring to see how these writers have grown and developed and come to trust and learn from each other over more than a decade. It's pretty exceptional. Within These Lines documents the patient, generous, sophisticated force of 7 poets who hold time together. You'll notice the author of this collection is plural. Poems by the Obsessors, it reads. There are no separate names on the cover. These are poets who show us what it means to work as a collective, to listen and develop and contribute as a group. They measure time in dewdrops and exoskeletons, in the clicking and unclicking of a pen, in fruit flies and distant chainsaws, fallen petals, spinning shopping cart wheels, and pennies fallen between the cracks. These are poets who listen wide to themselves and to each other. They offer their lines and their time to the larger landscape of artistic community. And tonight they invite us in to hear their lines, where they intersect and where they part. Each voice held distinctly together. Look so forward to these readings.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's such a lovely introduction. So we're going to move on to hearing from our second featured guest, Barbara Klar. Barbara is the winner of, oops, sorry, I've just got to spotlight myself here, sorry. Barbara Klar is the winner of the Gerald Lambert Award and the Joseph Stauffer Prize. And so I would like to welcome her for some opening remarks here, and I will just pass it on. Welcome, Barbara.
Thanks, Rachel. And thank you for inviting me, Obsessors. It's really great to be here. You know, writing is such a solitary art. It's not always easy to feel that you're part of a community. So when I facilitated part 2 of the Obsession sessions way back in 2008, I was really delighted to see all the connections that people in the class were developing. There was such an evolution of friendship in that class. The class was huge. I think there were 19 participants. It was crazy, but somehow we achieved a very wonderful dynamic, and everyone was hungry to learn more about the craft of writing and to meet other people who love to express themselves with words, and people who know the power of poetry to question and surprise and entertain and make sense of this life on this planet. So I have to say it was probably the most fun I've ever had facilitating a workshop. And it was no big surprise that a number of the poets in that course were already meeting on their own on the sly. To keep that sense of community alive. And I think actually they had started meeting after Jen's class, after that first obsession session. And they've been meeting regularly ever since to critique each other's work and generate new work and to arrange retreats and workshops to keep themselves inspired, and most of all, to provide a real support for each other, which is so important during this sometimes lonely act of writing. So 13 years they've been at this, and not all writing groups are so resilient. So this is a real achievement. And this anthology, oh my goodness, that is a huge achievement, a very ambitious project. And it's a real testament to the hard work and commitment of these writers, and also to their strength as writers and their courage and their continuing friendships. So congratulations, Obsessors, on this anthology. It's a beautiful book, so well done. Everything about it looks so professional, and it's full of wonderful poems. So I'm really looking forward to the readings, and everyone else, I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, so I think we're going to hear now from our first reader, whose work is in the collection, Belinda Betker. Belinda's poetry collection, Phases, was a 2020 finalist for 2 Saskatchewan Book Awards, and she's also published in various anthologies and literary journals. So I'm pleased to welcome her here tonight. Belinda.
Sorry, you froze up on me, but is it all right now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, thank you everyone for celebrating our anthology launch tonight. This is really exciting. It's a real honor to be part of this fabulous group of writers and friends for the past 13 years. I'm going to read 2 poems tonight. June is the beginning of Pride Weeks all across the country, and Saskatoon Pride was last week. So I'm going to open with a poem called Why a Parade? For the 4-year-old girl who rejects her dolls and miniature ponies for toy cars, trains, and Lego, and the 7-year-old boy who would rather skate Lutz and axle jumps than play hockey, and the 12-year-old tomboy who cries when her mother insists it's time you wear a bra, and the 13-year-old who has less in common with the guys than his girl friends, and the 14-year-old who's bored with her friends giggling about really cute guys, and the 18-year-old boy who obsesses about wanting breasts and no penis, and the 25-year-old guy lingering over the glossy pages of Men's Health, and the 31-year-old trans woman who doesn't know how to tell her family she wants sex reassignment surgery, and the 38-year-old wife who agonizes about how to leave her husband for a younger woman, and the 45-year-old husband who cruises dark city parks and for the men he hooks up with, and the 56-year-old widow who discovers romantic love with her longtime lady friend, and the 62-year-old pansexual who's in between relationships, and the 70-year-old man keeping a hospital vigil for his friend and secret lover, and the 83-year-old self-identified queer and lifelong activist. For all of them and all the others who don't identify with gender and sexual norms, who don't fit the stereotypes, labels, and acronyms, who are still discovering their true selves. For all of them and all of us and all our allies, that's why I prayed. And my last poem, this is Taste Buds Cafe. So Taste Buds Cafe is a lovely little cafe, not too far actually from where I live, but it's also where the Obsessors met for weekly meetings for I think a couple of years. Taste Buds Cafe. September warmth radiates from red and gray paving stones beneath my feet. I bask in the sun in front of the cafe, sip iced chai latte from clear glass cups. My journal lies open on the heavy wood table before me while I click and unclick my pen, waiting for the first line of a poem to arrive. A ladybug flits, whirs in for a landing on my left hand. Autumn spun wasp staggers drunkenly along the patio railing. Orange tinged leaves flutter towards me. One flicks the tip of my ear as it spirals to the ground. Without a doubt, it's fall. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Belinda. We have copies, I believe, of Phases in store as well, so make sure you pick up a copy of both when you're in. Our next reader tonight is Leanne Boyce. So a special shout out to Leanne for working with us to organize all the bits and pieces of tonight's event. I'm sure there was more emails than than there should have been, but I appreciate it, Leanne. So she is a teacher and poet, and having lived in 10 cities, 4 provinces, and 2 continents, she's happy to have landed in Saskatoon. So let's welcome Leanne.
Hello, everyone. It's a thrill to be here with everyone. My first poem is called Early Snow. Early snow. A soft spotlight the day after he left, forgot to lock the door, his footprints sealed, imprinted beside lilies, petals frozen before early snow. Too cold to grasp, she shuts the door, resists the urge to brag about her sorrows. Ice collects and attaches to dry, dead leaves, fall forgot to take. A long time ago, I lived in the middle of the desert, and my next poem is Alice Springs. 1. Just when I thought it was good, I let go, and you were left with a peanut seed, more delicate than most. Underground, maturing unevenly, requiring more rain until weeds arrived, stealing water, hiding under shade of leaves, waiting for embryos to sleep. The harvest is complicated, cut, then dried, crops grown in isolation. 2. I leaned back to see the havoc a rake could make, reached down, poked the red soil where the lettuce once sat, a gift that sat burning midday in the desert, a gift that required giving. A decision was needed, more death. This lettuce was a quitter. 3. Trusted trees I carried my innermost thoughts to, my back resting on its slightly uncomfortable shoulder. Branches that led me into a false sense of security. The lovely eucalypt that gathered around water, 200 pounds that could drop without crack or creak, waited until I slept. 4. Measured breath, the amount of rain that fell between words, the length of time a drop took to hit from the tip of my finger to floor. 6 breaths more, then stopped. Worries timed by water. 5. When one had witnessed the flow of the Todd 3 times, they considered you a local, but it was a long wait for water. Patience, the first chocolate lines that trickled down the red banks. The river existed only briefly, dangerous for all who clamored to see it run, baptizing each other in the shallows. Through McDonald Ranges, Telegraph Station, Town Center, then out to desert. Its presence, fleeting relief. And my last poem is Homestead. I leave you there where you lived the longest. The floor cracked and worn, walls that moved with each step. Outside, the wind taps peach leaf willow near the bone, breaking when bent. And I wait, my heart carrying the sighs and aches old wood makes when leaned upon. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Leanne. Our next reader for the evening is Gary Chappell, who's a founding member of the Obsessors and has previously published one book, Full Throttle, and lives in Saskatoon. Let's welcome Gary Chappell.
Good evening. Thank you, Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I have 2 poems for you. The title of the first one is Red Light. Stuck at idle, windshield wipers scrape the hissing splatter of raindrops. Center lane traffic light, a ribbon reflection across the rain-slick hood. Inside a metal cage, between white lines, narrow path ahead. A tiny horseman dances on the hood. I see dreams astride his one and only horse, Incredible. No, Incredible died long ago. Now he rides Impossible. He beckons, come with me, Bacchus is throwing a party. I shake my head, turn on the radio. Rolling Stones, can't get no satisfaction. Green light. punch the gas hard. The title of my second poem is From a Grandfather. And if any of my granddaughters are watching tonight, this one is for you. There was a day I chose double lessons in karate, could sprint a quarter mile with a grin, was a lean, mean love machine with a master's degree in wit and quick retort. You will only know a stooped man who has trouble kneeling down, who cannot walk with you after childhood battles are over, when time's acid rain falls on you in turn. Today, eyes closed, your tiny head rests on my arm, unaware of head-on collisions or date rape. The path before you, nebulous, each relentless crossroad a coin toss. If always I could walk alongside as you try to stand tall in the fury, be your centurion against the barbarians, gladly take the mortal arrow aimed at your heart. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. I'm loving seeing all the comments come in for the readers too. So keep that going, because I will save this and send it to everybody afterwards in lieu of being able to gather in person. Our next reader for tonight is Cindy Clarke. Cindy is a poet living in Saskatoon with her partner, Brian, and she recently published her first book of poetry, which I think we launched here, was it 2 years ago? Was it a year and a half? I can't even remember. But anyways, welcome, Cindy Clarke. Let's hear from her next here.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I also want to thank the Obsessors group for providing support through all these years. This would not be possible without you. I'll read 3 poems tonight, and the first poem that I'll read for you is called Before the Move. To settle has always been a kind of death, the ghost flicker of a half-open curtain I walk through. A breeze sways, wind chimes sing down damp from last night's rain, and everywhere is the smell of green. Sun sparkles through maples outside the window, morning embers shift. In all this unfolding, I sink inside this coffee shop and watch the strange slant of light on elms to rise again. Surprised by generosity, I imagine moving into an apartment by the river with space enough to write each day a new prayer. My second poem is called When the Dust Settles. When the dust settles, I will have walked until my feet are raw from thin soles and too much broken glass. I will have hitched a ride on 50 grain trucks, shook the dirt off my jacket, and waved from the end of a tree-lined road. I will have mouthed the sun's distance behind me, walked all day to face it again, clinging to the horizon's curve. Who counts the secrets I will have bought and sold, or how many will find themselves in these lines? When the dust settles, I will see clearly past mistakes and wild roses, the two-toned call of the song sparrow, the long howl of the coyote echoing from the river hills. I will rest still as one wrought iron chair, posed beside a round table in the late afternoon, waiting for the rain. And my final poem is called Request. Ask me my name. A summer hush, something barely there, or wind on your arm. 1,000 moments pass, all storm and shadow, aching under a still moon. Ask me my name. A ripple in water, slow waves on a far shore, drift near the edge. Ask me my name. Strength ages, sweet sorrow ebbs through musty wine. Release me from the rain, from vision and death held together in one breath. Ask me my name. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. We've got 3 more readers this evening, the next of whom is Holly Keeler. Holly lives in Saskatoon with her husband, Paul, and 3 adult daughters. She's published poems in Spring and the Fieldstone Review. So please join me in welcoming Holly Keeler.
Hello, thanks for joining us tonight. It's really exciting to be here. The first of 2 poems I'm going to read is called What the Top Shelf Holds. I am addicted to salt, chocolate, a distant second, peanuts, potato chips, olives, margarine on toast. With my eyes closed, I cannot distinguish the taste of a kiss or a tear. Salt reminds me of the red and green eyes that looked out from filmy brine, a jar on the top shelf in the science room of my old high school. I was never told why they were there, sheep's eyes gazing lifelessly, making me and my friends titter and squeal. Squeamish but fascinated, I would stare through the formaldehyde, eye to black slit eye. The remnants of a large wandering herd with black hole sockets trying to recover sight. And the second poem that I'm going to read tonight is called Lunar Child. I think fairies stole my baby and left behind a beautiful changeling with a moth-eaten heart. Thin crescent of a girl, pale, luminous velvet skin, the color of milk. She leaves a trail of breadcrumbs to heaven and back again. She is a streak of Aurora Borealis, a mythical princess, or perhaps Diana, protector of young girls. She rides into battle with fearless Haddington, her teddy bear, at her side until anesthetic sweeps her away to open heart surgery. I wait with Haddington on my lap outside pediatric intensive care until green clothed people wheel her by. A world where she must lie very still, PICC lines, chest tubes, IVs, and monitors. She doesn't seem to mind that her life is a constant view through a candy store window, whose sweets she tastes only in her imagination. Years later, her excitement at her first time to be on the school relay team in the citywide track meet. I see the other kids' disappointment, their team loss, their slow time. Then her delight and pride, her first time the doctors allowed her to run, her first taste of chocolate. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Holly. Our next reader tonight is Mick Lafreniere. He's a Saskatoon-based writer and is happily retired and writes in the city and at the lake. So please join me in welcoming Mick.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. I have 2 poems for you tonight. The first one is called Elizabeth's Morning. The sky is a shapeless gray. The wind has finished its night of howling and has left rain dripping from the leaves like countless spigots, tapping a rhythm on the patio. Slow rivulets make their way down the window, bumping one drop, then another. Streams, webbed like veins, they pulse their way downward, like heartbeats. And in those streams, thoughts go to memory. On the table, the coffee sputters its last drops, fills the air with roasted comfort. Coffee's dark aroma meanders down the hall. Bare feet on the hardwood tell you there's life in the room. Have you seen the rain? No, I heard it. A cup is offered, cream and sugar, exactly as you like it. And the clock tells time as though it matters again. And the second poem I have for you tonight is titled Take Care Where You Step. A lost love has passed through this grassland meadow. There is a footprint. I know it is because the grass and wildflowers are folded over. And the tiniest flower I have ever seen has lost a petal, which lays upon the tangled broken blades. It is red and torn, and dew is dripping onto it from the stem of the sister petals above. They are crying for it to return to them, knowing now they will never be complete again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mick. I believe we have one more reader tonight, Bronwyn McRae. Bronwyn can be found writing poems and children's stories in coffee shops and parks around Saskatoon. And she also enjoys playing clarinet with the Saskatoon community bands. So welcome, Bronwyn.
Thanks, Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here with my fellow obsessors and with all of you. I have two poems for you tonight. The first one is called Parenting. You sit on the next bench at Superstore, wear your basketball shorts low on slim hips. Your mom calls you a gangster, says you wear gangster shorts. There is an odor of stale liquor. Your younger brother shushes her while you call a cab. She is agitated, jumps up when a cab slows, but doesn't stop outside the door. That's ours, way too loud. It's not, Mum, I just called. What the hell is wrong with you? It's ours. Your brother touches her arm. She yanks it away, stumbles after the cab. Mum, go after her, he begs you. You run out the door. He follows with the contents of your grocery cart, a bag of pretzels, bottles of Pepsi, a 12-pack of mac and cheese. The back wheels spin in all directions. This poem is called The Homegrown Ice Rink. September sun crisps weeds 3 feet high. Father and son work a canvas gloved team, pull and tear, rake and pile, finish them with the blade. October, the pumpkin moon hangs above the glow of brush fire, ground charred with ash, leveled weights. Stubborn stalks poke from the earth like short bristles on the neck of a dog. Lights unwound from large wooden spools, they spend November dusk, stringing them from naked lilac bushes to choke cherries raisined by wind and frost. Wait in December for below zero nights before dragging hose across patches of frozen lawn. Water pools in low valleys, swims to lick edges slick as an otter. Each night a new icy layer until finally hauled from the garage, the nets. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Bronwyn. So Bronwyn was our final reader for tonight. I think at this point, maybe I'll ask everyone to turn their video back on so we can say a proper goodbye. So I'd like to thank Jennifer Still and Barbara Klar for their introductions, and as well to all of the readers tonight. We had Belinda Betker, Leanne Boyce Gary Chappell, Cindy Clarke, Holly Keeler, Mick Lafreniere, and Bronwyn McRae. So thanks to all of you who joined us tonight, and we would of course encourage you to purchase a copy of Within These Lines from McNally Robinson, either online or by phoning the store tomorrow morning. We appreciate your support very much and look forward to being able to host in-person events again. I know it's different doing things online, but I'm really glad that you could all join us tonight. And until then, just please keep an eye on our coming events page on mcnallyrobinson.com to find out more about all of our upcoming virtual offerings. So with that, I'm going to say thanks again and wish you all a good evening. Okay, take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.